Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Thursday, June 13th, 2024 edition of Iowa 911 Communications Council. Welcome everybody here in the room and those joining virtually. Kara, can we please have a roll call to see if we have a quorum?
Sure. Chris Jasper.
Jasper's here.
You, Jeff Miller.
Here.
Mike Bryant.
Mike, you're on mute.
Eric Daw. How about Tom Berger? Chris Hare.
Chris Hare's here.
Thank you. Rob Dinner.
Rob's here.
Thank you. Adam Well.
Here.
Taylor Teeple.
Okay, thank you. How can I please entertain a motion to approve today's agenda? Here's will make the motion. Have a second?
Jasper, I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Again, same sign. Motion carries. And likewise, can I get a motion to approve the May 9th, 2024 minutes?
So moved, Jasper.
Okay, do I have a second?
Miller will second.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Again, same sign. Motion carries. Blake, do we have a report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me get my slides. All right. Want to first talk a little bit about the May 30th incident that was the Lumen outage that communications throughout the state. Early that morning, probably around 6:30, I think we started to get a grasp of the scope of what was happening. For those that don't know, the Lumen building downtown Des Moines experienced water damage on one of their top floors overnight. Of course, gravity being gravity, it ran down the conduits that powered the building. We quickly kind of realized the breadth and the scope of what all was being impacted. It was not just 911. And because every local jurisdiction is different in how Lumen kind of serves them, we knew we couldn't really articulate well all of the impacts everywhere and impacts could be different town to town, city to city. So what we did was try to message 911 PSAPs to let them know what we knew, and we did that throughout the day. I did hop on a call with Polk County EMA, and I think they quickly also realized that they were going to have a hard time articulating from their level at a county level what the actual impacts on the ground of their cities and towns were. So we kind of worked with PSAPs and let them know, hey, we're going to get some messaging out, but we're really going to rely on you to determine, what your impacts are, what your workarounds are going to be during this time period. We didn't want to message anything that was going to be wrong or message something that was going to also be broke down the road. So I think we did a good job of keeping local emergency managers in the loop, local PSAPs in the loop. From what I could tell, you guys did as best you could at the local level of identifying what the issues were and notifying the publics. We did work with Lumen for them to get out a statement as well. Because this was their issue, we wanted them to put something out first, which they eventually did. We were on a troubleshooting bridge for about 12 hours that day, working with Comtech, working with ICN, working with Lumen to stay up to date on the status of those repairs and what they needed to do to get that building lit back up, to the point where we were getting updates on, hey, the generator on the 5th floor is up and working. The generator on the 2nd floor is up and working. The generator on the 3rd floor is up and working. And that's literally what they had to do, was bring those floors up floor by floor with power in order to repower the equipment. So all of that to say, we are still waiting on kind of the request for outage information from Lumen. We are very interested in what that comes back with. We're working with ICN, I think, again, because all of this was behind or upstream of what we normally see. I think we learned a lot about the design that they have and just what all flows through that building. We also, again, going to kind of leave no stone overturned, or we're going to reach out and have a conversation with the FCC just to make sure that that Lumen is abiding by all the regulations that there are for redundancy within 911. So I'm not sure what that will come out with, but we are planning to have that conversation down the road and see where the conversation goes. Because I don't know where that conversation will go, I don't know how much more I can say on it. Again, I haven't had the conversation yet. So any questions kind of about the incident and the input from anyone? Okay, I will move on then. If you haven't been on the HSCMD website in the last month or so, you might notice that there is a redesign across state government. All the agencies are trying to align their look and feel of their website. So the 911 website is still out there. It's still probably the best to just and you will get taken right to the 911 portion of the HSCMD website. All of the information is still there. All the links are still there. It just might be a little bit of a different feel for you, but it is all still there for you to find and use as you need. One kind of little piece of housekeeping that I wanted to bring up, just because we've had two of these instances recently. About it seems like 2 or 3 PSAPs a year tend to move their location. That is a little bit of a lengthy process. We have to physically move the ICN connection. So the more lead time, the better. And depending on the PSAP, depending on what's all involved, the scope of work varies, obviously, with each of those moves. So kind of just online change request form. We will ask you to have a kickoff call with all the vendors involved so we can kind of get an idea of what all you're looking to do in the timeline. We'll kind of agree upon a time frame, and that might just be, a month or a week when it's early on, and then refine it as it gets a little closer. So again, the ICN is responsible then for physically moving that connection to the 911 network. Depending on if you're a shared services PSAP or not, Comtech will have a role to go in and physically move their equipment as well. And then we just make sure that all the vendors are moving in the same direction. So again, all of that takes a lot of work and a lot of planning. So it can't just happen overnight. So again, just a reminder, more communication is better if you are planning to move your PSAP. Any questions? Okay. Shortly after the 911 council meeting last month, I did get the ending balances, and I know that's really hard to read. Ending local 911 fund balances. Again, this has kind of been a hot button topic for the last couple of years. Again, we kind of look at 2 different pots of the local 911 fund. So if you look at all 3 pots, assigned, unassigned, and reserved, you can see that from FY22 to FY23, that went up by about $4 million statewide. And then if you look at the unassigned ending balances, and again, that's kind of the pot of money that you are able to use in your budgeting process. that kind of shows like you might not necessarily have an exact plan for that fund. It went up $3 million from $30 million to $33 million. So those are the most recent budget numbers that would have been published on the budgets that you would have completed like the March timeframe. So as fresh as we have. Update on GIS grants. We continue to meet the benchmarks at 100%. Not anticipating any changes to the program for next fiscal year. So the same benchmarks, the same amounts, the same process all around. On the Council Travel Public Education and Training Fund, there are no training funds to consider this month. As a reminder, the $100,000 refreshes starting next month, which is July, the start of the fiscal year. And we will be awfully close to using the full $100,000 for this fund the current fiscal year. With that, I will turn it over to, I believe, Paul with Zetron for an update on shared services.
Good morning, and thanks, Blake. Good morning, everybody. Nothing to note new for the program update in this council meeting. Next slide, please. Again, a showing of the map of where we're live and where we're going live within the shared services program. Next slide, please, Blake. On the online training portal, we have launched. We're in our onboarding month, so we have reached out to all agencies. 9 agencies have signed up and are online with their particular agency URL. If there are any questions on the online training portal, and again, just a quick reminder, this is an unlimited online training resource for all statewide telecommunicators, including supervisors and managers. It's free to all PSAPs, whether you're on shared services or not. And you're provided your own dedicated resources to help you onboard and manage your training environment, as well as to operate your training environment, which provides over 800 courses, as well as allows you to upload your own courses and create your own curriculums. Next slide, please, Blake. And just a reminder, later this week, we'll be sending out our Iowa Insider newsletter. If anyone would like to sign up, please email lynn.warren@zetron.com and she'll take good care of you. And that concludes my presentation. If there's no other questions, back to you, Blake.
All right, thank you. I would take any questions of me at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As mentioned, we have no training fund requests, so moving on. Do you have any technical advisories? Okay, during that, can we please get an update on ISIC from its network?
Thank you, Robert. COMEX is next week. Setup day is June 18th. The exercise will be 19th and 20th. We have a full roster of trainees for that. So I'd just like to say thank you to Story County in advance for offering to host that, and all the agencies who are supplying the resources. I'll give a update next month on the event and how it goes, but I'm expecting a successful event because people help with that. Central Students Comment the 13th. If you're interested, please sign in. You can sign up for that. Our ISIC board is making the final updates to the SCIP. That's our statewide interoperability plan. Now that the board changes are going into effect, we will submit those edits to the contractor. I did attend with Blake and some others from ICM the 911 Cyber Resilient Symposium in Kansas City for comm centers. I will just give you a couple of takeaways that I got. Numerous people said that it's not if, but when And so please just take into consideration what your PACE planning is. And also what your recovery plan with your center or your local government may have a cyber attack. I know that in the PSAP, you easily know how to go to pen and paper. But how are you building those relationships so that you can work with other departments, have that in place currently so that you can recover faster and more efficiently? Then also just last week I was at NICSWRC. We had lots of good discussions. There's lots happening in the artificial intelligence world that's coming to PSAP near you. If you haven't already implemented some of that stuff, it's just really exciting. And then we had some serious discussion on the future of technical assistance and what that will look like. There will be probably some changes due to funding. So just be aware of that. We are having that CONEX here next week, thanks to some really diligent work to get that pushed through. And hopefully in the future, we will be able to, because we're building up our common personnel and getting some but provide. That does not mean that you shouldn't continue to let me know what we need and what you think you need at your agencies. But that discussion is still ongoing. So just so you're aware. That's all I have, unless there's any questions.
I need to switch networks.
Okay.
It's really bogged down.
I'm sorry.
I need to switch networks. It's really bogged down. So just
Okay,
pause for a
we're
second.
gonna have a, just a.
All right, we tried to clean up the network. I was getting, seeing stuff in the chat that it was really bogged down and that you couldn't hear us. Am I talking a little bit better now? Can somebody give me a thumbs up or thumbs down that you can hear me better? Seems better.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. We get an update from U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity Expert. Fine.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to the Matter One Council. Appreciate the time today. We'll right into some recent CISA products, and I guess the first product that came out over the past month or so is a summary of all the products that have come out recently from a part of CISA and the stakeholder group that we regularly meet called SAFECOM. SAFECOM is an aggregation of communications practitioners in public safety and public service space. And this document that was released last month summarizes all of the key products that came out in 2023. If you've ever followed the news feed from CISA, you'll see that there are a lot of communications products that do come out each year. And this does kind of aggregate them and summarize them together so it turns into a one-stop shop of things that we work with stakeholders to produce. Again, SAFECOM is one of the groups, along with the National Council of Statewide Interoperability Coordinators, that works to improve communications amongst agencies and also ensure that in addition to the interoperability, security is also a part of that equation. So again, this is available online at the website you see. It is free to download, and it will be kind of the phone book, a Rolodex, products that have come out over the course of 2023. On the next slide, I do want to share some data with you all. This is straight from headquarters. Every time we have a large, say, celebration, parade, or other sort of mass gathering in public space where cellular networks are going to be congested because of the number of people using them, we try to get out there and do some live network congestion testing. The data that I have here is from Region 7, and it's on the Super Bowl victory parade in Kansas City. And we had our testers out there for approximately 3 hours to actually look at cellular network congestion. Now, once I show you the data, there's going to be a column there that says barred. This barring column is basically when these networks experience congestion, and that's actually something we can measure and it's something we can quantify as well. Of the 4 major carriers that we tested, they all experienced some level of congestion. And we also were able to observe some anomalies on the networks. Now, this is one of those things where when you have 1 million people in a very confined area, it's going to put a different level of stress test on the cellular networks. When we uncover these things, we make sure that we very privately share that data with the affected carrier so they can then in turn improve their network performance during those times of extreme congestion. If you think back to the Super Bowl parade that occurred the previous year, it's estimated that the number of attendees increased by about 200,000. So this is a different level of congestion than what we experienced even last year. The next slide has the data. Testing started at around 10:38 local time and ended completely at around 1:45 p.m. local time. And there you can see the columns. The carriers here are sanitized. We're not authorized to say who they are, and I don't even know who they are. But you can see the wireless call completion rates, or CCR, are on the far 2 right columns. The phone calls that used our wireless priority service, they are the column second to the right. And a public phone was used to make calls, and those call completion rates are shown on the far right column. All the networks experienced at least some level of congestion, and when that congestion was experienced, WPS did perform exceedingly well. In some cases, 4 times to 5 times more successfully than a regular public call. One thing I do want to point out on the next slide, though, is where we did encounter those network anomalies. We were able to work with the carrier to help them figure out what the issue was, and that data has been turned over to them so they can make some improvements. And this is the type of beneficial relationship we have with our partners in the commercial carrier space. And this is ultimately how we work to make things better for everybody involved. So this data is available to me if you want a more detailed presentation on how this worked, the parade route, the testing route, things like that. Let me know offline and we can set something up. But again, this shows the merits of priority services such as WPS and how they can be a good supplement to your operation. And especially with the busy summer season coming up with events, this is something that your public safety personnel may get some additional mileage out of during those times of large gatherings and a lot of events being held in the public space. Finally, the regional news note. We do have the Central States COMEX coming up in the Joplin and Wawa area from September 10th to 13th, as you heard us say. Other SIGBs or SIECs that are meeting, Missouri meets tomorrow. And of course, for the 911 community, we'll be working with Blake on our interoperability markers update starting sometime in the July timeframe. Look for those emails to come out after that is scheduled. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. I can go ahead and take any questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, do you have any updates for the 34A Administrative Code Committee?
I know it has.
Okay, and how about the baseline now?
No, say so.
All right, any legislative issues? Okay, not at this stage. We'll move on to information sharing. I just want to point out that we are nearing the retirement of Captain Pierce. Am I right? He has been a very important part of this council. Been very involved in this council, and it's stellar. And I really appreciate the work you've done here. I wish you the very, very best.
Thank you very much. I both appreciate it. I just want to say how much I've enjoyed serving on the board, and I believe in the board. Believe there's going to be a great impact in Iowa. And I just encourage everybody to continue on with the mission. Thank you for your leadership of the board. Thank you. Chairman, I do have some information to pass, if I could. I'd like to announce this is so everybody has updates on this. About 7 months ago, DPS embarked on a mission to identify and acquire a new CAD and RMS network management system, computer-aided dispatch and record management system. For DPS, we were in dire need of this type of service for our department. And we just really need to get on top of this. We began our mission by considering Motorola, Central Square, and Tyler. Through our work with CISA, and they have identified with you for 3 of the major CAD RMS providers here in the state of Iowa. So that was one of the things that helped drive our decision with this, and they were also a large enough agency to be able to handle an agency of our size. During our assessment, we engaged with CISA and also with Johns Hopkins University's Applied Physics Lab, the contractor with Skyline Technology, and they were engaged to conduct an independent assessment of our process as we proceeded through this. We also went around the state and we assessed many other CAD and RMS systems that are currently active and what people's thoughts and feelings were with their systems. We also spoke with other surrounding states from Delaware, Missouri, Wyoming, and such to speak to them about what they think of their system. And we have come to the conclusion that for DPS, Tyler Technologies CAD and RMS and warrant management system is best for our particular agency. That is the programming that we are proceeding to work with. We're currently engaging in contract negotiations with this, so it may be a little bit of time before things get settled out. So that is who we hope to get on board with, and they estimate that 14 to 18 months from the time that we end up signing the contract, and we should have the system up and running. So decided to pass that on to everybody. We're also purchasing this off a state master agreement contract, and that state master agreement should be available for the entire state too. Also, but we also ensured that all 3 of the people we considered, Motorola and Central Square, were also on state master contract. It's good information for everybody else to take with them. Thank you very much. That's
All right.
all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other information, Sharon?
I have one, Mr. Chair, and I forgot to do this during my report. I do want to introduce Kayla from our office. She's now in the 911 program. She replaces Allie, who again took our public information officer slot. So I will let Kayla introduce herself.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Beckerdate. I am not only helping support the 911 program, I'm helping support the Alert Iowa program as well. So really just stepping into Allie's shoes at the state. I have been with the state of Iowa for about 8 months now. I started as one of our radiological planners. Prior to that, I was the county emergency services director in Wisconsin. And part of my responsibilities in that role was also running our county PSAM. So you have a little bit of 911 experience on that end, but excited to step into Allie's shoes and help take out of this adventure.
Okay, very good. Welcome, Kayla. Any other information, Sharon? Okay, I don't have any new business or old business or travel requests. Do we have any business from the floor here in this room? Okay, do we have any business from those joining virtually?
I see Dominic raised his hand.
Hi,
Dominic?
Blake. This is Dominic with the IUB. Do you mind if I reach out sometime this week or next week and ask you some questions about the Lumen incident last week or the week before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, any others? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Here's to make the motion.
Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? And we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Oh, water. You can see it flowing into the lake.
Yeah.
I just see olive oil martini and like just saw.
An olive oil martini.